Welcome to week 9 of the underrated game of the week, where we feature a game with two G5 teams facing off, and you should be watching as the entertainment value will be high. This week, I don't know how underrated it is, but it must be featured given the context of two G5 teams facing off. South Florida takes on Memphis in what should be an exciting matchup on ESPN2 at noon Eastern time on Saturday with a 63.5 over under. It's coming down a little bit right now. The line in this one, moving towards South Florida, it's now at 4.5. I think it's closing in on 5. Why is this thing intriguing? Before this past weekend, this was the clear front runner for top G5 game of the year, as each team possesses a quality win over an SEC team, with South Florida surprising Florida early in the year in the Swamp, while Memphis took down Arkansas, although it was at Memphis. Not quite sure why an SEC team would go play there. And they had otherwise taken care of business. That was until Memphis flat out crapped the bed against a brutal UAB team that had just fired Trent Dilfer, and they lost 31-24. It was absolutely an embarrassing loss. But they do still have everything to play for if they can run the table, given that the AAC is in the pole position with upwards of 5 teams that are legitimate playoff contenders. They just now have zero wiggle room moving forward if they're going to try to reach their goals here. On the South Florida side, the Bulls have been a team frequently featured here, and rightfully so, given their success, which has led to a top 25 ranking. They're currently the clear-cut favorites to make the playoffs as the G5 representative, giving their schedule going forward, but plenty of hurdles still remain. This 3-game stretch of at Memphis, UTSA, and then at Navy, in addition to the conference championship game, are going to present plenty of problems for the Bulls here. To the surprise of nobody, the offense, guided by the best player in the G5, Byron Brown, has been on an absolute tear, putting up scores of 63, 54, 63, and 48 over their last 4 games. He is doing all of this with limited weapons around him, which is a credit to him and head coach Alex Golesh, whose offensive scheme is going to present many problems at new destinations and give him plenty of opportunities. His name's going to be floated around a ton in this offseason, potentially for a team that he beat earlier this year in the Florida Gators. On the subject of Brown, though, he's posted nearly 1,700 passing yards with 16 touchdowns while leading the team in rushing at 475 yards and 6 rushing touchdowns. The combination of Sam Franklin and Nakai Davenport have picked up the slack, with Cartavius Norton now out for the season. And while they've been efficient, averaging nearly 5 yards per tote, they are merely complements to Brown on the ground. At wide receiver, Chaz Nimrod, he operated as the clear top option for much of the year, but he did miss last week's game due to injury. He should be considered questionable for this week. I believe with the matchup that they have, he probably tries to give it a go. And someone's going to need to, keep an eye on that, though, for certain. Keyshawn Singleton, he was my preseason favorite for the top option, but he struggled after the solid first 2 games of the year, although he has shown some signs of life the last 2 weeks. Now, the story of this offense for me over the past month is freshman Jeremiah Coger. He has emerged as a big-time threat here and a potential top option in the pass game moving forward with his 6'3" frame. Over the past 3 weeks, he has 4 catches in each game, 260 total yards, and 4 total touchdowns. Coger is likely to be a key contributor for this team going forward with the opportunities he has earned. And then you have Moody Rubin and Christian Neptune. They've kind of been splitting time in the slot with mixed results. On the defensive side of the ball, they have been serviceable while excelling at forcing turnovers with 7 fumbles and 10 interceptions. And they're led by linebackers Jalen Schuler and Mac Harris, who have the clear lead in tackles, sacks, passes defended, forced fumbles, and fumble recoveries, while contributing 2 touchdowns. They are absolute playmakers at the second level. On the Memphis side of the ball, Memphis was on a tear the first 6 weeks of the season, taking care of business, and even produced what one would consider an upset win over Arkansas, where Arkansas kind of fumbled the bag there, but Memphis was still in it, and they had a shot to win it either way. All of that really just kind of came crashing down on the road against UAB. But quarterback Brendan Lewis went down in that game and got hurt. That did not help in any way. Granted, I think the defense let him down last week. You can't give up an 81-yard TD run along with letting wide receiver Iverson Hooks go for 11 catches, 172 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That has zero effect with the quarterback. That's all on the defense. Speaking of Brendan Lewis, though, the Nevada transfer was what they had expected him to be, which was a big downgrade in the passing game from Seth Hennigan, but he's able to keep the team on schedule with his rushing ability. Sure, he does take a few too many sacks and puts it in risky spots that lead to turnovers, but to this point, he does lead the team in rush touchdowns, which is no small feat given the quality of the backfield that they have. Now, true freshman A.J. Hill took over when Lewis went down in his first game action, which I was kind of surprised that he had not seen game action prior to this. He did look like he had more growing to do, completing only around 50%. I think it was 52% of his passes for 175 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He did not take any sacks, though. Don't underestimate the fact that A.J. Hill is a big-time recruit. He's a 4-star. In my preview of the Tigers, I did mention how much I liked the future for Hill. He has everything you want from a big-time college quarterback. He just has no experience yet. The rushing attack that could complement this, it's absolutely lethal, particularly when both Sutton Smith and Greg DeRozers are healthy. DeRozers is and should be the 1A here, as he's the more explosive of the two for me. He has battled injury earlier in the year, which did lead to Sutton Smith emerging and taking a bigger role than I'd expected, as the staff has typically employed a workhorse back, sans the annoyance of the goal line back the last couple of years. I think we do see DeRozers continue to take probably 70% of the work by comparison, with Smith soaking up the rest of it. For my money, though, comparing last year's team, the biggest drop-off on the roster from a year ago is 100% the receiving core, which lost all of the key pieces there. Cortez Bram came over with Lewis from Nevada, and the pair have picked up where they left off with the Wolfpack, as Bram leads in every category while having 1/3 of the team's yards and over half of the touchdowns. Jamari Hawkins is a serviceable number 2. He just needs to find the end zone. That's kind of where he's lacking. If he can get one in there, I think it'll go a long way for helping them expand the offense a little bit. And then on the defensive side of the ball, really for me, outside of the big plays last week and just letting Iverson Hooks destroy them, it's really a quality unit that plays, a full team rallying to the football sense. It's very much a team game without 1 or 2 superstars taking over for it. They're opportunistic as well, similarly to South Florida, having forced 14 turnovers, including 10 interceptions. And against Taylon Green, they did an admirable job. He's going to be the best comparison to Byron Brown is Taylon Green of anybody they're going to be able to face this year. They limited him on the ground. They forced 2 interceptions, and they only allowed 1 touchdown. Granted, they did give up 325 yards through the air. That is kind of their weaker aspect, is giving up yards in the pass game. Overall opinion on this game, I was all set to jump on Memphis to win this game, as I believe they're just the more complete team with advantages all over the field except for quarterback and wide receiver. Granted, I have made it well known throughout the year and before the season that Byron Brown can win a game anytime he sets foot on the field. But then last week happened and Brendan Lewis went down. A loss to UAB is just inexcusable, even with a backup quarterback, especially one that I believe in so much in the long term. Is it possible that with a full week of starters reps and some game time under his belt that the freshman can make a better showing here, given that he probably wasn't fully prepared uh, for that situation to come in and take over, not expecting it. Now, coming in and expecting it, does he look better? I think probably does. How could I really, then I'm thinking, well, how could I pick against the guy that I picked as the preseason as the best quarterback in the G5 when quarterback means so much in this level? These are all things that I keep asking myself when I'm trying to pick this game. All that to say, give me the kid to play better at home with a full week of prep being aided by a great run game and Greg DeRozers and a solid defense around him. I'll take Memphis plus 4.5 in this one.